She cheated on me with my best friend, but I won't just sit back and take it. Now I'm with his wife, doing things that... My name's Daniel. I'm 35, and up until 6 months ago, I thought I was doing everything right. House in the suburbs, steady job, wife I adored, and a best friend I'd trusted since I was 14. I wasn't rich, but people told us we looked like the couple that made it. Her name's Laura, my wife of 7 years. Beautiful in that unassuming way, soft voice, sharp wit, eyes that made you feel like the only person in the room. She worked part-time at a floral boutique and spent the rest of her time running her photography business from home. We didn't have kids yet. We were waiting until the time was right. And then there's Matt, my best friend since high school. The kind of guy everyone liked. Charming, funny, the one who always knew how to turn a bad day around. We'd been through it all. Graduation, breakups, bar fights, weddings. He stood beside me at mine, one hand on my shoulder, the other holding the ring. I used to call him my brother. Turns out, brothers can lie too. I don't know when I first started to notice. Maybe it was a few months before it all fell apart. Maybe longer. She'd laugh at my jokes. She'd sit beside me on the couch, but lean just slightly away. She used to reach for my hand while we watched TV. Now she tucked hers under a blanket or folded her arms. I told myself it was work, stress, hormones, anything but what it actually was. Matt started showing up more too. At first, I welcomed it. He'd bring beer, crash on our couch, shoot the breeze like old times. But then, there were moments. The way Laura laughed at his jokes. The way she leaned into him when she talked. The way they shared glances that I couldn't decipher. One night, I found them in the kitchen after midnight. She was laughing too hard. He was pouring her a second glass of wine. They went quiet the moment I stepped in. They brushed it off. Said they were talking about birthday plans. I smiled, nodded, joined them. I didn't want to be the jealous guy, the paranoid husband, so I ignored it. I wish I hadn't. The first real clue came in the form of a lie. A small one. Laura told me she was going to visit her sister for the weekend. I nodded, even offered to drive her to the station. She kissed me goodbye at the door, a quick, practiced kiss, the kind you give a friend. That night, I got a call from her sister. Just a casual check-in, asking if Laura had remembered to bring the charger she left last time. I froze. She's not with you? I asked. A pause. Then no. I thought she was home. I didn't answer. Just hung up. My hands were cold. I tried to call Laura. Silence. Something in me broke. I'd spent months pretending everything was fine, ignoring signs, telling myself I was imagining things. Now, I wasn't so sure. The next day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I drove to Matt's place. He lived across town, near the lake. Had a nice apartment. The kind of place you get when you don't have anyone else to worry about. I'd been there 100 times. We watched games there, had drinks on the balcony, made dumb bets on fantasy leagues. This time, I parked down the block. Laura's car was in his driveway. I just sat there, engine off, heart thudding so loud. I didn't go in. I didn't knock. I just sat there, staring at the car I paid for, parked outside the place of the man I'd once called my brother. After about an hour, they came out. Matt, laughing. Laura, hair tied up, wearing the hoodie I bought her last Christmas. She kissed his cheek. He grabbed her hand. They didn't see me. I waited until they drove off. Then I went home. You ever try to act normal while everything inside you is on fire? Like smile at the neighbors while your hands are shaking? Sit at a dinner table and pass the salt while your whole life is falling apart? That was me for the next 2 weeks. I watched. Because if they were going to lie to my face, I wanted them to think I still believed them. I wanted them comfortable. The first thing I did was get a second phone. One she didn't know about. Just enough to install the apps I needed. Location trackers, keyloggers, data sync tools. I'm no hacker, but you'd be surprised what you can learn with enough Google searches and a quiet room. Next step? Her phone. She was always careful, always locked it. But one thing Laura never changed, her passcode. Our wedding date. I guess in some twisted way, that meant something to her. Or maybe she thought I'd never have a reason to try. One night, while she was in the shower, I synced her messages to the hidden phone. Took less than 2 minutes. And just like that, I had a window into her second life. The first few texts were harmless. Chats with friends. Work stuff. Then I saw his name. M. No heart emojis. No obvious red flags. Just coded messages. Last night was amazing. Still thinking about it. Can't wait for the next coffee meeting. Winky face. My stomach turned. But I didn't stop reading. Because the further I scrolled, the clearer it all became. They'd been meeting for months. Coffee shops, his apartment, parks, hotels. There was even a photo. I'll never forget it. Laura, in our bed, wearing his shirt. She'd taken it like a selfie, biting her lip, and sent it to him while I was at work. I locked my jaw so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. But still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. That night, she came home late. Said she stayed out with coworkers after a client shoot. I made dinner. Her favorite, lemon pasta, garlic bread, wine. We talked about the weather, about her mother's new cat. I even asked about the shoot, played dumb, let her paint her picture. She smiled, laughed, kissed my cheek, like she hadn't just destroyed every part of me. But here's the thing about people who lie. Once they start, they don't stop. They don't even realize how sloppy they get. Over the next week, I collected everything. Screenshots, photos, audio recordings. I had it all. But still, I waited. Because this wasn't just about truth. It was about justice. And justice takes time. It was a Thursday when the shift finally happened. Laura came home in a mood. She was glowing, the kind of glow people have after something exciting. She looked at me like she used to. She leaned in close, whispered something about taking a weekend getaway, just the two of us. Said she missed us. I nodded, smiled, said I'd think about it. She kissed me long and slow, like she was trying to rewrite her past with her lips. Then she went upstairs to shower. While the water ran, I texted Matt. From her phone. He's buying it. Let's meet tomorrow. Same place. He replied in under a minute. Told you he was too soft to figure it out. Can't wait. I turned the screen off and smiled for the first time in weeks. You ever see someone dig their own grave? That's what they were doing every day. But I wasn't done yet. There was one more piece I needed. One more person I had to talk to. And she had no idea what was coming. Her name was Hannah, Matt's wife. Yeah, he was married too. You didn't know that? Neither did I, at first. We weren't close. I'd only met her twice in passing. She was always traveling for work, running her own business upstate. I guess Matt liked it that way. Easier to keep secrets. But now, she was going to be my final card. I found her Instagram. Left a vague message. Hey, I know this is random, but we've met before through Matt. Can we talk? It's important. She replied a few hours later. Sure. I sent her my number. And when she called, I told her everything. Just the facts. What I'd seen. What I'd collected. At first, she didn't believe me. But when I sent the screenshots, she went silent. For nearly 5 minutes. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm. Shaky, but controlled. You've got a plan, don't you? I paused. Then answered, yes. And I want you to be part of it. Because if they were going to betray us together, then maybe we needed to return the favor. Together. We met in person 2 nights later. A cafe downtown, the kind where the music is soft and the waiters pretend not to hear the things people say. Hannah showed up in a gray coat and black scarf, looking like someone who'd slept through too many bad nights. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her coffee, but her eyes, those were steady. As I laid it all out, the photos, the texts, the lies, she sat there, nodding, her jaw clenched so tightly I could see the pulse ticking in her neck. And then she said the words that changed everything. Let's give them something to regret. Together. The plan came together quickly. So we built something they'd never see coming. We started by staging a meeting. An accidental one. It was a Saturday. Laura told me she had a late shoot and wouldn't be home until after dark. I said I'd be busy too. Told her I was driving out of town for a client consult. She nodded, barely listening, probably already texting Matt under the table. That afternoon, Hannah picked me up in her car. We parked near the same hotel Laura and Matt always met. This time, they booked room 204. And we booked the room across the hall. We waited, watched through a cracked door as they walked in, laughing, hands brushing, like they hadn't burned down 2 entire marriages. They were so casual, so comfortable, as if they'd already decided we weren't worth the truth. At exactly 6:42 p.m., while they were inside, we sent them both a text. At the same time, from each of their own phones. Look outside your door. 10 seconds later, the door across the hall creaked open. Matt poked his head out first, a towel around his neck, grinning, until he saw us. Me, standing beside Hannah. Laura. Her face went pale the second she saw me. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. And for a second, the hallway was frozen in this weird, quiet standstill, like no one wanted to blink in case it all vanished. Then Hannah spoke. Nice night for lies, isn't it? I'll never forget how Laura looked at me. Not with love, not even with guilt, with fear. I held up a folder, a clean, neatly labeled envelope with their names on it. Inside, printed screenshots, photos, timestamped text logs, even a copy of the hotel receipt, paid with Matt's joint account, the one Hannah still had access to. This goes online on Monday, I said calmly. Unless you sign the documents inside, you'll find them thorough. Laura reached for it, hands shaking. She knew what I meant. Divorce papers, asset separation, statements of infidelity, and the cherry on top? A signed confession, one that explained the nature of their affair in detail, mutual, ongoing, and intentional, just in case they ever try to play victim later. Matt tried to speak, something about how it wasn't that serious, that they'd been confused. Hannah just laughed. You slept with your best friend's wife and lied to both of us for months. That's not confusion. Then she turned to me, nodded once, and we walked away, just like that. Back at my place, I sat on the porch, cold beer in one hand. Phone off, lights off. The silence felt different. A few hours later, Laura came home. I didn't speak to her, just watched her pack. She asked if I was really going through with it. I said, "You already did." She cried. I didn't. She left around midnight. I haven't seen her since. As for Matt, he tried calling the next day, 12 times. I blocked him after the second. A week later, I got an email, some long-winded apology, full of regret, and we didn't mean to hurt anyone. Funny how people only feel sorry once they lose everything. Hannah and I didn't talk for a while. We needed space. We both had damage to sort through. But about 3 weeks after that night, I got a text. Coffee. I said yes. After betrayal, people expect you to collapse. That's what Laura thought I'd do. I could see it in her eyes the night she packed her things, that flicker of uncertainty, of hesitation. Like she didn't really believe I'd go through with it. Like she thought I was bluffing. That I'd chase her down the driveway. That I'd cry, maybe even fight Matt, make it dramatic. But I didn't. I just let her go. And something in her cracked because of it. The first few weeks after she left were quieter than I expected. I figured I'd feel emptiness, ache. But instead, I felt space. I changed the locks, deleted our shared calendar, put her mail in a box, and left it at the doorstep of her sister's house with a simple note, no return to sender. Not anymore. But the messages started trickling in. At first, just one-liners. Hope you're doing okay. You didn't deserve this. I made a mistake. Then came the real one. Can we talk? Just once. I didn't respond, because I'd already spent years talking while she was lying. Meanwhile, I poured myself into work, took on more clients, redesigned the garage into an office, started running again in the mornings, earbuds in, lungs burning, thoughts finally quiet. And then, out of nowhere, Hannah texted again. Just a photo. 2 mugs on a table. One said chaos coordinator. The other, this is fine. Below it, guess which one's mine? I laughed harder than I had in weeks. We met for coffee again the next day. No heavy topics. Just conversation, light, simple, good. She talked about the house she was selling. I told her about the time I almost got fired for mixing up 2 clients named Jeff. We laughed. A lot. When I walked her to her car, she gave me a long look. You seem lighter. I nodded. So do you. She smiled. Over the next few weeks, we started talking more. Not just as the betrayed spouses, but as people. Shared stories. Traded playlists. Swapped embarrassing teenage photos over text. It was weird how easy it was. How natural. Matt's wife and Laura's ex-husband. 2 broken halves just figuring it out. But if you think Matt and Laura were staying quiet, think again. They couldn't leave it alone. I ran into Matt at the grocery store one afternoon. Total coincidence. I turned a corner, and there he was, standing by the frozen pizzas, pretending not to see me. He looked terrible, gaunt, exhausted, eyes sunken like he hadn't slept in days. I walked past him, didn't say a word, but he followed me. Wait, man, just can we talk? I kept walking. It wasn't supposed to be like that, okay? I didn't mean to. I stopped. Not because I wanted to hear him out, but because I wanted him to hear me. I turned slowly. You didn't mean to what, Matt? Ruin 2 marriages? Sleep with your best friend's wife in the house he paid for? You didn't mean to lie to my face? Or to hers? He looked down. I was going through stuff, man. I laughed. We were all going through stuff. You just chose the worst possible way to deal with it. Then I added one more thing. Calmly, clearly, and straight in his eyes. I'm doing better now. And you? You look like someone who finally realized he lost everything for nothing. And I walked away. Laura came back into the picture soon after. She started posting photos again, got a new haircut, a selfie with the caption, starting fresh. Then came the message. Do you ever think we could have fixed it? I didn't reply, because she wasn't sorry for the choice. She was sorry for the consequence. But what neither of them expected was Hannah and me together. It wasn't even planned. But one evening, after watching a movie and splitting a bottle of wine, we sat on her porch and fell into one of those long silences. The kind that isn't awkward. She looked at me and said, "They thought we'd break." I nodded, but we didn't. Then she reached for my hand, and I let her. Meanwhile, Hannah and I weren't focused on revenge anymore. It had already played itself out. What we had now was something else. We started spending real time together. We went hiking one weekend. No phones, no distractions. Just nature, long trails, protein bars, and better conversation. At one point, we stopped at a cliffside overlook. The view stretched for miles, golden trees, fading light, the kind of quiet. Hannah looked over at me. Do you ever feel like this was supposed to happen? I raised an eyebrow. The cheating? She laughed. No. This. Us. Finding each other after all of it. I looked out over the trees. If you'd told me 6 months ago that I'd be standing here, without her, without him, and not feel hollow, I would have called you crazy. She nodded. Yeah, me too. We didn't kiss that day, but something shifted. It was about what we were building now. Laura had moved into a rental apartment across town, barely furnished, still half-packed. A mutual friend told me she'd stopped showing up to work on time, started asking for extra shifts, avoiding family gatherings. Matt wasn't doing much better. He got written up at work for unprofessional conduct. Lost a major client. Hannah told me he'd tried to get in touch with her twice, showed up at her office unannounced. She had security escort him out. One evening, Hannah invited me over for dinner. Simple stuff: grilled salmon, roasted potatoes, some overpriced bottle of wine she'd been saving. We ate on her patio, string lights above us, a warm breeze cutting through the spring air. It was quiet, comfortable. And then she said, I want to ask you something, but you don't have to answer. I looked up from my plate. She took a breath. Do you think we're moving too fast? I smiled. I think we're not moving at all. We're healing. Together. She looked down, then back up. But what if people think we're just doing this to hurt them? I shrugged. Then they never understood what real love looks like. She didn't say anything after that. She just leaned across the table and kissed me. The next day, Laura texted me again. Saw a photo of you and Hannah. Guess you've moved on. That was it. No anger. No accusation. I didn't respond. Hannah and I kept moving forward. We didn't rush. We talked about everything, from stupid childhood stories to the heavy stuff. Regret. Trust. What forgiveness really meant. And then, one afternoon, we stood in her kitchen, laughing over spilled orange juice and burnt toast, and she said, "This feels real. Like scary real." I nodded. That's because it is. Meanwhile, Matt and Laura had tried, for a while, to make it look like they were still a thing. Couple selfies, inspirational captions, the whole "we're rebuilding" narrative. But fake smiles don't hold for long. A friend sent me a post from Matt's social. Sometimes the hardest lessons come wrapped in love and loss. But growth follows pain. Hollow words from a man who still didn't understand what love was. Laura deleted her socials a week later. You'd think that would be the end. But life has a way of circling back. Always. Because a few weeks later, at a local charity event, our paths crossed again. All four of us. It was supposed to be a fundraiser. Just another spring charity gala at the Community Arts Center. Overpriced tickets, auctions, slightly too warm wine, and everyone pretending to care more about the cause than being seen. Hannah and I weren't planning to go, but one of her clients had donated photography services for the event, and they'd invited her personally. She asked if I wanted to come as her plus one. My answer was simple. Oh, definitely. I'm sure we'll have plenty to do together once we're there. She wore black, sleek, elegant, subtle. The kind of dress for attention, but held it. I wore a navy suit, lean and confident. We weren't there 5 minutes before I spotted them. Matt, Laura. They were across the room by the hors d'oeuvres, standing stiffly together. Matt's tie was crooked. Laura's smile looked taped on. And when their eyes met us, they both froze. I watched Laura's fingers tighten around her glass. Matt said something to her, but her eyes never left Hannah. Hannah? She didn't flinch. She just turned to me, smiled, and said, "I hope the shrimp's good. Let's find out." We walked right past them. Didn't say a word. That was the first punch. About half an hour in, a mutual acquaintance stopped us at the bar. "Oh wow, you two came together? Didn't expect that." She said it with a forced smile and a gossip-hungry gleam in her eye. I didn't rise to it. Just nodded. "Yeah, it's been a wild year. We figured it was time to start living." The acquaintance blinked. Hannah added, "If I'm being honest, part of me is actually glad it happened like this." Then she sipped her wine and turned away, like it was nothing. But Laura was within earshot. I know she heard. It wasn't until the speeches started that things really unraveled. We were seated across the room from Matt and Laura. A long table separated us. Halfway through the keynote speakers' talk about community and trust, I noticed Laura looking at me, staring. And when our eyes finally locked, I didn't look away. I held her gaze, long enough for her to look down first. That was the second punch. After dinner, there was a brief intermission before the auction. Hannah and I stepped outside to get some air, and that's when Laura followed us. She caught up just as we reached the garden path, heels clicking too fast behind us. "Daniel, can we talk? Please." Hannah paused, looked at me. I gave her a slight nod. She stepped aside. Laura was already shaking. I didn't know you were going to be here." I shrugged. "It's a public event. You two are together now." She said it like the word burned her mouth. "Does it matter?" She stepped closer, voice dropping. "I made a mistake. I know that now. Matt, he's not who I thought he was. I miss you." I laughed, low and tired. "You don't miss me. You miss the version of me that didn't see through you." She swallowed. "Do you think we could ever talk?" I cut her off. "You had a chance to talk. You chose to lie." I looked her dead in the eyes. "You chose him." Then I turned to walk away. Hannah was already watching from the path, arms crossed, quiet fire in her stance. And Laura? She was left standing there, alone. Back inside, Matt tried to make his move too. Cornered Hannah near the punch bowl like some scene from a high school drama. I didn't hear the conversation, but I saw her expression. Calm, firm, unshakable. She walked away without looking back. And Matt just stood there, one hand gripping a cup. By the time the event wrapped up, we were already halfway down the steps outside, hand in hand, laughing about some ridiculous item from the silent auction, a $400 signed spatula, or something equally absurd. That's when a voice called out, "Daniel." I turned. Matt, standing alone, tie loose, shoulders sunk. "You really with her now?" I nodded. He looked at me / "Guess you won." I tilted my head. "There wasn't a game, Matt. You just lost the only people who ever actually cared about you." Then I got into the car, closed the door. Laura tried one more time. A letter, handwritten, folded once, no envelope, taped to my front door. I read it once. It wasn't an apology. Not really. It was a list of regrets dressed up like reflection. I never stopped loving you. I got lost. I wish I'd seen what we had before it was gone. The line that stuck with me? I hope one day you'll remember the version of us that was good. And the truth? I didn't need to. Because the version of me that existed in that marriage, the one who excused the distance, ignored the signs, rationalized every lie, that man was gone. Buried, somewhere back in that hallway outside room 204. Matt, for his part, disappeared. No more messages. No late-night texts. No drunken voicemails. Hannah told me he moved in with a cousin temporarily. Started driving for a rideshare app. Said he looked tired. But that wasn't my story anymore. Mine was different now. We spent time together because we wanted to, not because we were afraid of being alone. There was this one night, late June, when we sat on her back porch listening to a thunderstorm roll in. She was curled into me, hair still damp from the shower, and out of nowhere she whispered, "I don't think I've ever felt this safe with anyone." And I said, "That's because we've already seen the worst." She reached up, kissed me, and smiled. We bought a place. A little fixer-upper outside the city. Nothing fancy, just a house with potential, a garden full of weeds, and enough space for both of us to start over our way. We painted the walls ourselves. Chose the colors slowly. One afternoon, we were in the backyard, pulling out old roots when a neighbor wandered over. Friendly guy, maybe 60. He looked around and said, "You two just move in?" Hannah nodded. "Yep, starting from scratch." He smiled. Funny thing about starting over. it usually means you've already survived something. I looked at her, and she looked at me, and neither of us had to say a word. Loved, properly this time. By the time summer settled in, Hannah and I had found our rhythm. Mornings with mismatched mugs and lazy sunrises. Evenings with shared playlist and soft conversation. We started letting people in again. Dinner with friends. Visits from her sister. Coffee with my coworkers, who used to tiptoe around anything involving them. The world didn't feel like a battlefield anymore. And then came the weekend away. Just the two of us. A quiet cabin by the lake. No reception. No obligations. Just the sound of water and our shared breaths. One night, we were on the deck, wrapped in a blanket, a bottle of red between us. I told her something I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying. I think part of me always thought I wasn't enough, that I didn't see it coming because I didn't deserve better. She looked at me. You didn't miss the signs because you were stupid. You missed them because you were honest. You trusted. Then she set her glass down. I don't want someone who's been perfect. I want someone who's been through it and still chooses kindness. My throat tightened. We didn't talk about them much anymore. Sometime in early August, we hosted a small dinner at the house. A few friends. Nothing fancy. There was a moment. The grill going, string lights overhead. Hannah in the kitchen laughing with someone I hadn't seen since college. When I stood still and just watched. Watched her smile. Watched this life that had come from dust and heartbreak. Watched the version of me that almost didn't make it now holding a pair of tongs and telling someone the joke. And I realized something. This was the best revenge. Then, do you ever feel guilty for being happy? I knew what she meant. I took a breath. I feel grateful. And sometimes that feels like guilt. But no, not anymore. She looked up. Me neither. This wasn't some grand love story made of perfect moments. This was two people who'd been wrecked and decided to be gentle with it. Was a random Saturday in early fall. Hannah and I had spent the morning running errands, hardware store, dry cleaner, bakery. Just ordinary life stuff. The kind of errands that used to feel like chores now felt like time shared. We stopped at a local cafe on the way home. Outdoor seating. The breeze had that early October bite. Not cold yet, but close. We ordered the same thing we always do. Her, a chai latte with oat milk and 2 pumps of vanilla. Me, straight black coffee and a blueberry muffin I never finish. We found a table near the edge of the patio. And that's when I saw her. Laura. She was sitting inside, alone, stirring something in a paper cup she clearly wasn't drinking. She looked thinner, tired, like someone who wasn't sleeping well. She didn't see us at first, not until Hannah leaned across the table to brush something off my collar. It wasn't romantic, not overly, but it was intimate, casual in the way only real connection can be. And that's when Laura looked up. Our eyes met. I didn't flinch. Neither did Hannah. But Laura? She froze. And I swear in that exact moment, she realized she'd never get it back. I didn't move, didn't wave, didn't smile. And maybe, for the first time since she left, she understood that she wasn't the main character anymore. Just the one who exited the story too soon. She stood up eventually. Looked like she was going to come outside. Hesitated. Hannah noticed the shift in my face. Everything okay? I nodded. Yeah. She didn't press. Just reached for my hand under the table and gave it a squeeze. Laura stepped outside. Stopped a few feet from our table. She didn't look at Hannah, not directly. She looked at me and spoke my name. Daniel. I looked up. Laura. She glanced at Hannah. I'm happy for you. Both of you. Hannah just sipped her drink and didn't look away. Laura's voice dropped. You look different. Like you're finally you. I nodded. I am. She stood there for a beat too long. Like she was hoping something would happen. A flicker of doubt. A look that said, I miss you too. But I gave her nothing. Because there was nothing left to give. She left without another word. Didn't even look back. Later that night, Hannah and I were on the couch watching some terrible reality show, and she asked, was that hard for you? I thought about it. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't pain either. She nodded. Didn't ask more. Just leaned into me. Here's the truth Laura learned too late. You can't replace the love you betrayed. You can't recreate what you burned down. And when you see it again, in someone else's hands, better, stronger, honest, all you're left with is memory. It's been nearly a year. Hannah and I still live in that little fixer-upper. It doesn't look like much from the outside, but inside, it's warm, lived in, full of plants we're learning not to kill and photos we actually took. Some nights, we still talk about the past, not because we're stuck there, Because every now and then, we look around at what we've built, and we have to remind ourselves. Thank you for listening till the end. I hope my story helps you.